All right, guys, welcome back to another one. Today we're going to be talking about the patch notes 8.11. These are going to be coming out this Tuesday, June 11th, and it's a pretty exciting change. It's kind of showing that Riot is paying attention to the pacing. They've been making a lot of changes in regards to how a lot of the jokes are being controlled and how a lot of the pacing is done via the duelist. They're giving a lot more potential to other duelists on the field. It's not just going to be the same two. So it's really interesting to see what they're going to do with this. For right now, the patch notes that have been announced, I'm pretty sure they're still being tested and worked on, but this is what we have so far. And the changes are pretty mind-blowing. They're pretty insane. I do like what they're doing with the changes so far. So hopefully we're going to see a little bit more. Just as a big reminder, once we reach 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be making a raffle for a C9 jersey. So just like, subscribe, and comment. This really helps us out on the algorithm, but at the same time, it also gives us a chance to make that raffle happen. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to talk about two different things today. There's one little change that they added where now you can play all the maps that you really like. Pearl, Fracture, you can play them all on the other game modes except competitive. That's still remaining the same 7 maps. Okay, there's a new change that's going to be happening where 2 maps are going to be changed. Okay, the first one is going to be they're going to be removing Split and they're going to be removing Breeze. And then the next 2 is going to be that they're going to be bringing Haven and they're going to be taking in the new map that they're making currently. We haven't seen it yet. Hopefully we see something really cool about it. As for right now, let's talk about the buffs and the nerfs that have been changing around that is making this patch so cool. Let's talk about the first one, ISO. You no longer have to get that whole idea of, the kill. It gives you an idea on how you want to challenge ops from here onward, right? He just seems like an interesting counter for, challenging an angle, for getting that first fight. He is one of those characters that now you can use to immediately entry because a lot of people are afraid of taking that first swing. So now with the changes, he's now just getting only 1 charge, but he's able to activate it at the beginning without the need of that kill, right? Once that happens, if he gets 2 kills, he's able to activate it again in case he loses it or in case he runs out of time. He's also able to reset it, which allows him to continue looking for kills. So let's say you're in a position where you want to hunt for kills, you're able to do that. You're able to be rewarded for this type of chain behavior. Next thing is basically the tagging change. Now, a lot of people don't feel this change because most of the time they're being shot at, they're going to die immediately. But now tagging is a little bit less annoying. It's a little bit less problematic. You now just basically get a difference in how you get tagged. It's not something like super crazy. So heavy penetration, it basically means that you just go down slow to a crawl, but now you have a little bit of some leeway to kind of outplay them with movement in case you get caught off guard. So this is just going to give them a little bit more power. Just a simple change alone is going to give them a little bit more power in taking those fights. So this is the one change that I'm really excited for. I'm hoping to see a lot more people using ISO to contest ops, which are so prevalent as the elo stick in the ranked meta. So next change, Neon. We have a lot of really interesting changes for Neon. A very small nerf, but it's been kind of adjusted for other things. So we're going to see how that kind of works. Before, the way you would use Neon, it was only one way, and that was just to essentially use her to rush down a lane and oppress whoever was holding it by using her relay bolt, which is her Q. Now we are no longer going to be seeing that. Instead, it's going to be more strategic. It's going to be more about taking some space. So we're going to be noticing how this kind of ties into the sprint, which we'll be talking about in just a second. Fast lane, her double wall is going to be really, really useful. Okay. By the way, if you wouldn't mind just kind of muting for now. But what's happening is Fastlane is going to be really useful now at taking space. It's still going to maintain the same disruptive material because you're still blocking those sightlines. But now it gives a little bit of leeway since, sprint is going to be more powerful, as we're going to talk about in just a sec. There's been some changes to the duration of the wall. However, that's been adjusted so it now dissolves down instead of just falls down immediately. So it gives your team some kind of way to work around that wall. It gives your team some chance to kind of enter and maybe take that space and at the same time not lose immediately, control of the space that you had because it just drops down immediately, right? So it gives you some adjustment in how you're going to be entering with that wall instead of just throwing it up because it's an emergency or something like that, okay? So you're able to use it now a little bit better for that entry. It's still able to help your team out, okay? This is where the changes get interesting. And this is what I think is one of the better changes to Neon. Right now, the only speed-based or movement-based characters that we have that are working really, really well. By the way, if you don't mind muting as well, Hornet. So one thing that we noticed is that her sprint, based on the first preview we saw of her, had the slide, and the slide seemed like a really interesting idea. The problem was is you couldn't really do anything with it. You slid, you had no real movement advantage with it. You would just immediately lose. Okay. The only way that people were able to really combine it is to either potentially get a vantage point, or they were using it to juke people. They weren't really able to fully utilize that in a gunfight. The other way that people were using it in team play is that they were using it as a way to slide out and potentially catch an enemy off guard, and then someone else double swings behind them. These were the real, that was it. That was the nitty gritty that you could really have it. There was really no changes to how she could be played. She was pretty much solved at that point. However, now that we're seeing Neon with these changes, we're able to see that you're no longer punished for using her for strafing. You're now able to be a little bit more oppressive when you make that movement. You're able to use her for a lot more plays than what we talked about. Jump peaks are a lot better when you're using her now, because you're able to do that little sway on the side of a corner without being punished. You're able to use it for rotations, because now the duration of it, not the duration, the fuel regeneration is now changed. You now get it much faster. You're not punished for using your sprint. You're not punished for using your slide anymore because of the next changes. You get 2 charges for it. So now you're able to use it for a combination of different things. You're able to use the slide maybe for movement, for getting out of danger, and the other one can be used to challenging an area. So now you can use them together in a variety of different ways, and it no longer feels like you're stuck in that particular playstyle. Okay, the slide cost, I wouldn't say it's enough to deter anyone from just buying it, and considering that you start with one, you still have that playstyle in the past, right? But now we're talking a little bit about that whole idea with the equip side of slide. You now immediately equip it. You have no movement error at all. Sorry, no weapon movement error, which allows you to essentially pull out the weapon immediately after the slide and just be able to gun them down. This is the best change I've seen for Neon. I think it's a really positive change for how the way of Valorant should be moving, just simply because of the way we've seen how slow it's been, how methodical it's been. It's not really fun to play. I feel like it's more utility based at this point, and I don't really see a lot of people really enjoying it at this point. So this is really one of those things that I'm really excited to see how people will kind of use Neon in the first place. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the nerfs. Let's talk about Reyna first. I feel like this one's going to be kind of weird to talk about, since it feels like she does get a little bit of a buff that feels really strong, but it's an overall nerf for Reyna. She no longer is as dominant in the meta. Okay, and she won't be, at least in the way that ranked works. I feel like the padding that she got from 100 healing was enough to promote really bad behavior and really bad habits. Now that it becomes 50, she's no longer as rewarded from winning that gunfight. She's no longer as rewarded for, oh, I should have just won that gunfight and that would have been the end of it, right? It is now more tactical. You're now able to use this heal because you knew that if you had this heal, you're still able to have that padding and buffer for the next fight, as opposed to just being the end-all be-all of Reyna's kit. Okay, you get a little bit less healing overall. You get less healing, you get less heal full time, so you're going to feel that 50 come in a little bit faster, but that's fine, right? The dismiss is where the nerfs really start hitting besides the heal. Like, we start hitting really strange differences because now you can move a little bit faster, but that duration change, you're going to feel it. Okay, even though you move faster, you're going to feel it because it's no longer a way for you to observe corners. It doesn't give you that extra time to think, and it doesn't give you a way to avoid utility. That's what a lot of people were using it for. They would get a fight in, and then they would immediately run away, but still avoid the problems of getting away while not having your gun out, right? So those are the big things that really kind of change the way that Reyna is going to be played. You might see her a lot in ranked still. I feel like she's still a comfort pick overall, but it's not going to feel as impressive. And I feel like these changes, again, are in the positive light of just the way that the tempo of the matches are going to happen and the way utility kind of combines with one another. Last but not least, her ult. Kind of interesting. Her ult is an overall buff with that. You're now able to just use it. There's no timer. You can use it at any time. You're not going to feel like pressure to use a 6-point ult at clutch scenarios. You can use it whenever, and it's just there. I think it's really good. I think it's an overall positive change. And of course, just pop it at the beginning of the round. There's no reason for you to feel pressured to swing an angle. You're now buffed for the rest of the round. Okay, so this is really good. I think this is a really decent nerf. She's just too oppressive in ranked right now. I think the changes are going to be a really good way to kind of bring in other duelists into the fight. We shouldn't be seeing the same 3 in ranked. We shouldn't be seeing the same 2 in pro play, right? So let's see what happens next. With the things that have been really going on with Raze, it's been mostly movement based. If you read the patch notes that they released on different sites, they basically mentioned that she still wants to maintain that positive. They still want to maintain that really good feeling of movement that she has. Okay, she has a little bit of a nerf. She has a lot of AOE damage. She has a lot of AOE control. So they're really changing that with the satchels. But that's kind of something minimal in regards to what really is happening. The main change was her horizontal movement. Okay, if you play something like her most oppressive map, Bind, you know that the second that you hear those satchels, you do not know where she is. She could be behind you, in front of you, on top of you, anywhere. She is super strong at taking that space quickly. She's faster than Jet, and her entire thing is that she's fast, right? So her satchels are really oppressive. So with that out of the way, we're going to be hopefully seeing kind of a shift in the way that we kind of utilize it just mainly for entry and not just to combine it with really other parts of her kit. For example, her satchels were really good at combining with shotguns, and you were able to get really cheap kits and using them to oppress other lanes. So for example, again, Bind, you can take control of the backside of A side, you can take control of the backside of B side, you can take control of lamps, you can take control of elbow really quickly just by the use of the satchel in a really cheap thing, like maybe like a shotgun, right? So those things are now changing. We're going to hopefully see that they adjust it to the point that it's preventable and you can still outplay with it, but at the same time, it's not as oppressive that, oh, I didn't even know where she was, right? Really positive change. Last but not least, Clove. This one, I think, was bound to happen. We're going to talk about this bolded line in just a sec, but this is a change that I think was bound to happen. Every single elo was seeing a positive change by using Clove. Okay, you use Clove, you use them, and you immediately get a win because of the way that they are used. Okay, Clove has an ability that allows them to heal up. That's it. That's the main thing that really kept them in a fight. They've changed that. It's a little bit more expensive. It lasts a little less. Okay, and the assist time is they've kind of changed that window. Okay, you're now able to still maintain your role as a controller, but at the same time, you don't feel pressured if you do get into a fight and you're not able to do anything with it. Okay, you're still able to entry with it. However, it is not as encouraged as it is a little bit more expensive. You get it for less, right? So that window of time that allows you to think whether you should use it or not will become a little bit more troublesome for people that just wanted to no-brain it, right? Overall, it's a nerf. I do think that this was necessary, but this is not where it kind of ends. The problem, it didn't just come from this, it also came from the ultimate. The ultimate has been changed. You now have a little bit more of a delay when you come out of it. More ult points are necessary. You need one more. But this is where it becomes a little bit weird. If you weren't aware like I was, there was a bug that essentially allowed her to, to put it bluntly, just to get a free res from nothing. Okay, the way that it would work is simply if anyone stood around your smokes, for example, if anybody was around your smoke, if anybody was shooting through the smoke, that counted as some form of obstruction from your smoke, and that was quote unquote making something happen because of your smoke. And the way that it worked is if anyone got a kill, even though they just immediately touched the smoke and left, and if anyone got a kill with that out of the way, you would have been able to be rest back. So that's a change that they needed to make. The fact that it was a bug and it was around for so long is kind of crazy to me. So you could have done nothing. You could have just put down a smoke and you would already be back in the fight because someone got a kill just because they touched your smoke momentarily. Okay. So overall, this change was just to make her less annoying. They were very annoying. They were very obstructive in the way that they were no longer a controller. They were just mostly kind of like a pseudo duelist. So this is going to be a really, really positive change. Okay. Overall, really, really good. I really do appreciate these changes. I do believe that this is actually a really good overall change for the state of the game. So overall, these are the changes. This is what we've been seeing. This is what we've been kind of showing. I'm hoping to see that these changes go live. And I'm hoping that a lot of these kind of maintain the same process as before. All right, let's call it here. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.